You're listening to the WaxPackHero Sports Card Minute, a podcast where we discuss both the hobby and business sides of collecting. I'm your host, Mike Sommer, and I want to help you buy, sell, and trade your way into a collection you'll love. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the WaxPackHero Sports Card Minute. Today, I've got another interview for you. I've got Nigel Eccles, the co-founder of our newest sponsor, Starstock.com, on the line, and we're going to talk a little bit about his vision for the company and where he sees them fitting into this marketplace. And so, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and run the interview. All right, today we've got another interview for you. He is the co-founder and former CEO of FanDuel, the CEO of Flick, and is now the co-founder of Starstock. Nigel Eccles, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat with us about Starstock as you guys are getting ready to launch here in the coming weeks. We'll go ahead and get right into it. There's several selling platforms that are out there today in the marketplace that are doing a pretty good job in the card market. eBay, COMC, Sportlots. There's a lot of activity on Facebook and even Twitter when it comes to selling cards. So, to start with, I'm just curious about your vision for Starstock and how you see yourselves fitting into the marketplace.
Sure, and absolutely. And firstly, just thanks for having me on the show. I'm as I said to you earlier, I'm a real kind of newbie to the card market, and so it's great to have shows like this where I can get educated. So our vision for Starstock is that today probably 99.9% of say NBA fans don't know the difference between a prism and an optic. They don't have that depth of knowledge. But as we know, or people in the industry know, or in the hobby know, trading cards is just such a great way to trade, your expectations of athletes. And we want to widen that market. We really want to take it out to mass market. And we feel that what we can do differently is really make it much simpler for somebody from outside the hobby learn and buy cards at a fair price. So that's what our real focus is going to be. There's great platforms like eBay or COMC where you can get a vast range of cards, but where we think we can do a lot better is that whenever you land on that page, you can know whether that's a fair price and you can quickly buy and sell at that price. That's what our real vision is.
And it seems like also the focus, a little more of a focused inventory as well, right?
Yes. So a key innovation is that our plan, so we're very focused on the trading aspect. And what we've seen is an emergence of people that are maybe don't feel a need to immediately hold the card. What they want to do is they want to own the card. They want to have the long-term value. They maybe want to complete a collection and then they want to hold them. And so what we're doing is that designing the product is that the cards are held in a vault. So our sellers, what they're doing is they'll ship the cards to us. We will scan every card. We will categorize the card. And then what you'll see is when you look at the website or the app, you will see every card in your collection that is held in that vault, and you can sort them by year, by sport, by category. You can see where the gaps are. And then if you sell them, the card still stays in the vault, but ownership would move from you to whoever the buyer is.
Okay. Now you mentioned that you yourself are fairly new to the card industry, the trading card industry.
That's
but
right.
I know some of your other co-founders of Starstock are a little more ingrained into the quote unquote card world.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm curious, what do you feel like you've learned from building FanDuel and building Flick that will influence the growth and the build out of Starstock?
Yeah, I think FanDuel probably the best example. Fantasy sports is a great product. It's a really fun. It's a great way for people to kind of engage with their fans. It gives you something to do on a Tuesday afternoon when you should be working potentially, and you can research your lineup.
Right.
So it's a really fun product. What we discovered with FanDuel was that was that one of the problems was it was very complex for new players coming in. So you really had to have a friend who could just sit you down and explain every rule. And in fact, your first season was probably a disaster. And because you didn't have that sort of knowledge. And so we felt with FanDuel, we wanted to create a product that was very easy for new players to come in to understand, very sort of straightforward rules, a very intuitive interface. And if we could do that, we could bring in a whole audience of people that wouldn't normally play fantasy sports. And so they could literally click an ad, go onto the website, they could immediately get it, and they could play. And with cards, it's similar. In fact, the hobby is much more complex in fantasy sports. There's, it's not just one player. There's 300 different types for that single player,
sure,
if not more. And so we really want to replicate that so that, we're not going to be able to simplify it. There's still going to be 300 different types of cards, but what we want to do is to be able to much better explain to that person coming in and visually show them, well, there's this card trading at this price and there's this card trading at that price. And so our vision here is similar to FanDuel in that we want to take the complexity and make it much simpler, particularly for those new users coming in. I think that'd be the first one. The second one is what FanDuel brought was speed. Typically fantasy sports is played over a season. It's a fun game, but it's kind of a slow game, particularly like fantasy baseball. And with FanDuel, we made it faster. And again, with Starstock, there's like I've been playing around with many trades and, getting Patrick Mahomes several weeks before the Super Bowl. And really that was a trade that I wanted. I like that player. I wanted to have a rooting interest in the Super Bowl, but I wanted to immediately sell it straight afterwards. But as anyone knows, sort of buying and selling is a fairly slow process. And so we think that we can, with the vault, with Starstock, we can allow people to quickly trade in and out of players without having the hassle of having to list it, go through the auction process, go to the mail office, get it mailed, etc. We can make it much faster.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like, DFS is all about seeing patterns in data, which are predictive of future performance, and then jumping on them before everybody else, realizes that or recognizes it. And it would seem like from a financial perspective, from a trading perspective, that same skill set could be leveraged in the sports card world.
Yeah, absolutely. We absolutely think there's a real overlap. And one of the things is that, again, this mass market, I think it's held it out of sports cards, is they may have the knowledge of the athlete, but that's of no use if you can't distinguish between the different cards and know what a good fair price today is. So, for example, if I see a rookie come into the draft and I'm right that this rookie is going to be phenomenal and the rest of the market doesn't know that, then I should be able to do very well. But I won't do very well if I end up paying, 3, 4, 5 times what the sort of going rate for that card is. So the idea for us is let's build the product so that person coming into the market can have a better idea of what the fair price is. And so if they are right about that athlete, then they profit from that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, right? Like, it would seem that content sites were key to assisting the growth of DFS.
Absolutely.
Right? As content sites were out there helping educate people on the proper strategy to play the game, that helped bring more of an audience in. I think that's an interesting point, that the same thing could potentially be said for the sports card world and some of the content sites and sports cards.
Absolutely.
Partnering with marketplaces.
Yeah.
Is almost a way to mutually grow both the overall collecting base as well as the marketplace itself.
I totally agree. And, again, go back to the earlier point. If you think of NBA fans today, 99.9% don't know the difference between a prism and an optic. But they would be, but that 99.9% still will have a view of the relative performance of rookies. Like, if you're an NBA fan, particularly if you follow college, you're going to see these players coming in, you'll have a viewpoint. And so the role, not just on Starstock, but what we'd love the role of the ecosystem is to help those people coming into the hobby to be able to distinguish and say, well, this guy's I know this guy's going to be really good, but what should I buy?
Sure. So, I think it, just as a kind of a tag onto that, it seems like in the DFS world also, it's kind of common that after a big day or somebody wins a big DFS tournament, they'll buy a jersey of that one of the players who contributed to the win. I kind of wonder how long before, if we can see some of that further integration, we see people go and buy a rookie card of one of those players who helped in their DFS win instead of a jersey or something like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've definitely I've seen so often people build a real affinity with players through fantasy sports. And in fact, I remember someone saying to me once, it was like, well, why do people really care about their fantasy team, sort of thing? Like, it's, and he was saying some people care more about their fantasy team than their home team. And I said, well, what you're saying is they care more about something that they built than some team that some billionaire built. And so it doesn't surprise me. You should care about it. Because it's kind of was a test of your skill. And so, I absolutely think that, fantasy helped build, this kind of connection with the players. And I definitely see the cards as a way that people can kind of, deepen that connection and say, actually, this is my guy. And, I know that in my limited experience that when I own the cards of a player and I see them play, like, I definitely feel more of a connection with that player. Yeah,
and also this is the collection that I built.
That's right. This is the collection. These are there was a reason I picked these cards and not those cards. These are the players that I like.
Yep. That's great. So the site is scheduled to launch in April, and at this point, you are taking submissions for people who'd like to be some of the first sellers, correct?
That's right. Yes. So we're targeting the start of baseball, although we're we're going to launch with certainly the three major sports of basketball, football, and baseball. We're looking for submissions for the first sellers. We're looking for rookie cards for current athletes. That's sort of where we're excited. It's going to be the most sort of price volatility. And so that's where we're currently, and we're currently taking submissions for that. And when those are submitted, what we will do is we will scan every card individually. We will then categorize them. And then basically when the site launches, you as owner of those cards, you still have ownership of them. We will put them in a vault and they will be categorized with your name on it. And you will then be able to look on the website and see each one of your cards against each collection.
That's great.
And then what you can do from there is then some of them you can just leave them in the vault, and other ones you can say, actually, I'm going to list all of these other cards.
And then at some point, either as a customer or as the owner of those cards, you can have them shipped to you, get them
That's
back.
Correct. So for the ship-ins, what we've really said to people is that, if they don't like the experience, we'll ship them back to you at no cost for the sort of the initial ones. In time, obviously, we're going to have to build in shipping costs. But for those initial ones that people are saying, you're taking a risk with us, we feel you'll love the product. But if you don't for any reason, we'll bring them out of the vault and we'll ship them back to you.
Well, I this week I sent in some cards to give it a shot, and so I've got my own submission that is on its way.
Great. We're looking forward to getting that.
That's kind of the list of questions that I had for you that I was curious about, but I wanted to kind of throw it back to you. What else do we need to know about Starstock as you guys are getting ready to launch here?
I think one of the things for me is sort of, I'm very new to this hobby, so we really want to learn. We're definitely very open to taking feedback from the community. Like, we do have a vision that this industry and community hobby could be a lot larger, and we could bring in a lot more sports fans into it. But we do want people to know that we're definitely want to take people's feedback, and we may make mistakes. We almost certainly will make mistakes, but we definitely want to get sort of feedback from people on what we think we should change, how we do business. That's something we really want to get feedback from people on as we develop the site. So in terms of sort of contact, so my co-founder who's processing the cards, he's Mike at starstock.com. My email is Nigel at starstock.com, and very keen to get feedback from people in the hobby on what we're doing, and whether we're doing it right or wrong. Really would love to get that.
Yeah, I mean, feedback's how we all learn and grow, right? And so
Absolutely.
I think that's key. So finally, just curious, what does success look like for you when you think about where Starstock will be in the coming months and years?
So in the coming months, we would love to be, what we want to see is a good launch where we're certainly for sort of some of the base rookie cards that, we're really building up a lot of liquidity, and that lots of cards are selling back and forth. That's our immediate goal along those sets. Longer term, our vision is that we're bringing in and growing the hobby. Like, we would love to grow this hobby 10x or more, because what we can tap into is those people who play fantasy sports, who are just sports fans, but don't currently have that knowledge of cards, and that acts as a major barrier for them. So success for us is with not mass market. Like, you go onto Instagram and you see some of these sports accounts that have millions of followers, but very few of them own or trade cards. And what we want to be, success for us would be whenever that discussion on there becomes so many more of those, maybe 10% of those people are actively trading cards. That's when we know that we've had a success in the industry.
Great. Well, thank you, Nigel, for coming on today. I really appreciate your time, and
no problem.
Me as a collector, me as a content creator, me as a person who buys and sells cards to try to create a self-sustaining hobby, I think competition in the marketplace always makes everyone stronger. And so I'm excited to see what Starstock does.
Great. Well, thank you. We're really excited to see this launch and to get feedback from the market.
All right, great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Nigel for coming on the show. I'm excited to see what Starstock does as they launch. One of the things that excited me the most was that their desire is not just to attract the current buyers and sellers of cards, but also they want to see the hobby grow, and they want to figure out how to get more people who are just sports fans or sitting on the sideline, fantasy sports fans, whatever it might be, to actually enter the trading card market. And if we can get more people to grow like that and enter the market, that's only going to help all of us, whether you're in it for collecting, whether you're in it for making money. Having more people view sports cards as something of interest is going to be good for everyone in the long run. And so thanks again. Well, that wraps up another episode of the show. Reach out to me at waxpackhero@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at @TheMikeSummer. Leave me a piece of feedback on your podcast app of choice. I'd appreciate that as well. And if you don't mind, I'd love for you to tell your friends to check out the show. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon.